Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack your source material for the key insights. Today, we're jumping into a really interesting report. It's all about the global education administration software market. So if you've ever been curious about how tech is, quietly changing the way schools and universities run things behind the scenes, things like registration, managing the campus, all that stuff, well, you're in for some eye-opening details today. Our mission is basically to decode the big trends, the massive growth forecasts, and what's happening country by country. We're looking at this nearly $20 billion market between 2021 and 2033. Get ready. It might change how you think about how education operates.
Yeah, what's really striking here isn't just that it's evolving, but the sheer level of investment. We're seeing institutions everywhere making this fundamental shift toward using tech to get, well, more agile, more efficient. This deep dive, I think, will really lay out the global scale of this digital change and what's actually driving it.
Okay, let's tackle that global picture first, because honestly, the numbers are kind of staggering. We're starting at just over, $5.4 billion in 2021?
That's right.
Projected to hit around $8.3 billion by 2025. And then it just explodes, doesn't it, to almost $20 billion by 2033.
Nearly $20 billion.
So that's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of about 11.3% over that whole period. When you see a market essentially quadrupling in, 12 years,
Right.
what does that signal about the forces at play?
Well, growth like that is definitely more than just, small upgrades here and there.
Right.
It really points to a deep-seated commitment to modernizing. If you connect the dots, the report highlights key things like the big push for digitalization everywhere.
Right, that's happening across the board.
Exactly. Plus the expansion of education infrastructure globally and just this widespread need for schools and unis to streamline how they work. It's really about ditching those old, often manual, kind of fragmented systems and moving to integrated digital platforms. Stuff that handles everything from admissions right through to managing facilities much more effectively.
That makes a lot of sense. So, okay, with that kind of global push, where's the action happening most intensely? Let's start close to home for many listeners. North America, it was already nearly $2 billion back in 2021.
Yep.
Forecast to hit just under $3 billion by 2025, and then growing to over $6.7 billion by 2033. That's a strong CAGR, too, around 10.8%.
Yeah.
What jumps out at you when you look at the leaders within North America?
Sure. Well, the U.S. is obviously the giant here, making up the bulk of that market. It's projected to go past $5.4 billion itself by 2033.
Wow.
But what's quite interesting is Canada. It's a smaller market overall, sure, but its projected CAGR is actually a bit higher, around 11.6%.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it suggests they might be adopting these tools particularly aggressively. And Mexico is also showing solid double-digit growth. So it's clear, really, that the whole continent is focused on this digital shift in education admin.
Okay, now this is where I think it gets really interesting. Let's jump across the pond to Europe. Their market starts smaller, about $1.1 billion in 2021. Grows to about $1.7 billion by 2025, and expected to reach almost $3.9 billion by 2033. The CAGR is similar to North America, around 10.8%. So which countries are really driving things in Europe? Any surprises there?
Well, the key players driving that European growth include the UK. They're projected to grow to over $570 million by 2033. That's an 11.2% CAGR. Germany's also showing a really impressive CAGR, about 11.6%, set to go over $800 million.
Okay.
But what's really noticeable is how widespread it is. It's not just one or two countries. You've got France, Italy, Russia, Spain, Sweden, all showing strong double-digit growth.
So a real continent-wide effort.
Exactly. It highlights this, region-wide push to get the educational back end modernized.
All right, now for the region that seems to be truly hitting the accelerator, Asia Pacific. Starting from just under $1.5 billion in 2021. Projected to reach nearly $2.4 billion by 2025, and then surging to almost $6 billion by 2033. That gives it a CAGR of about 12.2%. That's noticeably quicker than North America or Europe.
It is, yeah. And within Asia Pacific, China's leading the charge in terms of market size. Expected to hit over $1.8 billion by 2033, with a strong 12.4% CAGR.
Right.
But the real standout, I think, in this whole report is India. It's coming up fast behind China, but it actually boasts the highest CAGR in the entire region, over 13%.
13%? Wow.
Yeah. It's projected to scale from around $200 million up to nearly $900 million.
What do you think explains that really high rate in India?
Well, it could be a kind of leapfrogging effect.
Oh,
Maybe adopting the latest admin tech directly, skipping some of the older legacy systems you might find in more mature markets. Plus, you've got that huge young population and just rapidly expanding digital infrastructure driving it.
makes sense.
And of course, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, they're all strong performers too, making it a really dynamic region overall.
Okay, moving south then. South America. Also showing pretty strong momentum, right? Revenue going from about $350 million in 2021 to nearly $1.3 billion by 2033. That's an 11.6% CAGR.
Yep, very solid growth. Brazil is the clear leader there, projected to go over $520 million. But it's also interesting you see Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Chile, and the rest of South America. They're all posting consistent growth rates above 11% CAGR.
So again, quite broad-based.
Exactly. It points to a widespread push for digital efficiency right across the continent.
All right, let's round out our global tour. What about the Middle East and Africa?
Okay, so in the Middle East, the market climbs from around $325 million in 2021 to almost $1.2 billion by 2033. That's growing at about 11.5% CAGR. Saudi Arabia stands out with strong growth, but actually the UAE is the fastest growing country in the region, over 12%.
Oh, really? Faster than Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, indicating a particularly rapid digital transformation happening in its education sector. Turkey, Qatar, Egypt also showing steady growth.
Okay, then Africa.
Africa rounds things off. Growth from about $150 million in 2021 to over $560 million by 2033. The CAGR there is roughly 10.8%. South Africa is a key player, naturally, along with Nigeria, both showing promising figures as they invest more in their educational digital infrastructure.
Okay, so we've seen this incredible growth across the board, different speeds, different leaders, but the trend is undeniable. What does all this mean for you listening, whether you're, a student, an educator, or just someone interested in where institutions are heading? It really means the world of education is going through this huge, rapid change behind the curtains. It's not just about what we learn anymore, is it? It's about how the whole system gets managed, enabled by tech, making that back end way more sophisticated and, you'd hope, more efficient.
Absolutely. This dive into the numbers, it just paints a really clear picture of a global commitment to modernization. Every single region, from the established players in North America to the really aggressive leapfrogging we see in parts of Asia Pacific, they're all pouring significant investment into this admin software. Why? To streamline and improve how schools, colleges, universities actually operate day to day. It really hammers home that idea that understanding this stuff, applying this knowledge, it becomes a powerful tool for change, especially now in this digital age.
Right. And maybe that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If the administrative backbone of education, everything from student records to payroll, is being so fundamentally reshaped by software, how might that quiet digital revolution happening in the back office, how might that in turn start to fundamentally change the front-end experience, the actual experience of learning and teaching in the years ahead?
Good question.
Something to mull over.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really jumping into something big that's shaking up education. It's all about the digital transformation of how schools, colleges, universities, how they actually run. We're looking at the booming education administration software market, and our mission for you listening is simple. Cut through the complex research, give you clear, actionable insights. We're zeroing in on market dynamics, future trends, what's really reshaping learning globally.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because, look, this isn't just about buying new software. Not at all. It's more fundamental. It's like a revolution in how educational governance works.
Yeah.
We're talking better efficiency, much more transparency, and easier access to data for everyone involved. It's really changing the
A
core.
revolution. Okay, that's a strong way to put it. So if it is a revolution, what's really driving it? What's the main force you see?
Well, I think first off, it has to be just the sheer speed of digitization. Schools moving away from piles of paper, going to automated systems for pretty much everything. Admissions, attendance, grades, staff management. It's not just faster. It fundamentally changes how they collect and use data, opens up completely new ways to analyze things.
That data point is key. And what about the role of governments? Is policy pushing this along too?
Oh, absolutely. Government backing is huge and sometimes overlooked. It's more than just handing out grants, though. It creates this sort of positive feedback loop. Demand pushes innovation. Better tech justifies more investment, especially, in developing regions trying to close that digital gap.
Right, building momentum. And then, well, we can't ignore the last few years. The pandemic must have accelerated things massively with remote and hybrid learning.
It really did. It basically proved how essential flexible platforms are. Suddenly, institutions had to support both physical and virtual operations. Things like cloud-based scheduling, communication tools, real-time monitoring. They went from nice-to-haves to non-negotiable practically overnight.
Okay, so those are some powerful forces pushing things forward, but there are always obstacles, right? What are the big hurdles? I guess cost must be near the top for schools.
It certainly is. The upfront cost of implementation, plus ongoing maintenance, it's a major barrier, especially, for smaller schools, maybe in rural areas or places with less funding. They often just don't have the IT teams needed either. That financial piece really limits how fast this spreads.
And dealing with all that student and staff information, that must bring up security and compliance headaches.
Huge headaches. You're talking about highly sensitive data, student records, faculty details. Protecting that is critical. Plus, you got strict rules like FERPA in the US or GDPR over in Europe. Meeting those standards bumps up cybersecurity costs, and the risk of a data breach is always there. It's a constant concern.
Makes sense. Beyond the tech and the money, though, there's the people side. What about internal resistance, getting staff on board with totally new systems?
Yes, the human element. That's often the trickiest part. You get staff who aren't familiar or comfortable with the new tech. And the whole process of change management, it can be long, really complex. It often delays things. I remember one case, the only person who understood their ancient paper system was retiring. Talk about pressure to digitize. That's the kind of real-world challenge we see.
Yeah, those are definitely significant challenges. But despite all that, the innovation seems to be moving fast. What's getting you excited in this space right now?
What's genuinely transformative, I think, is the rise in LMS integration. Tying the admin software tightly with the learning management systems. That's powerful. I mean, things like academic planning, delivering course content, analyzing student progress, it all becomes seamless. Creates a much more connected campus, breaks down those old information silos.
And the big buzzword, artificial intelligence. Is AI actually making a difference in admin software, or is it still mostly hype?
Oh, it's definitely moving beyond hype now. AI, specifically predictive analytics, is a real game changer. Think about it. Systems that can actually forecast student performance trends, flag students who might be struggling early on, and even help personalize their academic paths. That kind of foresight. That's fundamentally changing how institutions operate and support students.
And finally, everyone's on their phones constantly. So mobile first and cloud-based platforms, that feels like a natural fit, right? What's the big win there?
Absolutely. The key benefits are scalability and access. Software designed for phones and tablets running in the cloud. It gives people real-time access from anywhere. Plus, it cuts down the need for big, expensive IT infrastructure on-site. Ideal for places with remote learners or multiple campuses. It makes the tech more accessible, really.
Okay, so wrapping this up, it's clear the education administration software market is evolving incredibly quickly. You've got this pull from digitization, smart governance needs, powerful analytics. But at the same time, institutions are wrestling with real challenges like cost, security, and just getting everyone comfortable with the changes.
Exactly. And stepping back, the core message here is pretty clear. For any institution that wants to stay relevant, to stay ahead, they really have to embrace these innovations. But crucially, they also need to make sure their digital foundation security, scalability are solid.
So here's something for you, the listener, to think about as we finish. With AI and the cloud getting integrated ever more deeply, how might this technology fundamentally redefine the essence of the educational experience itself in the years to come? Not just streamline how it's run, but change what learning feels like.